Hello, 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 and welcome back to a winning world. It has been about a month since I've been with you all. I pray all is well. I pray that you all are making it through this COVID and that this broadcast meets you in the greatest place of health and safety. I know we're still wearing our mask out here and sanitizing. Hopefully, you're keeping things, your distance when you're out in the public because though things have opened up, in our opening, our numbers have gone through the roof. So it's still not safe. You do still need to do what you need to do to survive in this life, but stay safe. Keep your distance as much as you can, and continue to love on each other. Don't keep such a distance to where you're not showing the love or even being able to feel the love in this time because being isolated is not a good thing for people's mental health. So make sure you're reaching out and allowing people to reach out to you. We need each other to survive in this season. And again, I say, I'm praying for you. We're doing well over here. I'm in Florida. And, as I said, the numbers have gone skyrocket. But, I'm practicing everything that I know to practice and keeping prayer first and just continuing on. And there's been a lot of changes taking place in our society as well with race relations and everything. And I would say, just be conscious of your neighbors and take the time to actually get to know what their viewpoints are. Don't be so closed-minded, in your doctrines or in your past and things that you've known in your, that you've been taught. Be willing to the viewpoint of your neighbor. Get to know each other and love each other. It's all about love. And at the end of the day, for me, it's not a race issue. It's a spirit issue. It's all about allowing your spirit to be what it was naturally brought here to be, and that is to love and to unify and to make life happen. So I'm going to close out with that and move on. We have Mr. Al. Welcome, Al.
Hi, Amanda. Nice to be here.
It's great to have you. It has been, I guess we've seen each other in the last couple weeks, but it has been a long time since we've actually seen each other, face to face. It's been years.
I think it's 30.
Why would you say the number? I didn't say the number. Don't put our ages out there,
We're
Al.
st- we're st- we're still young and vibrant.
We are. But what's going on? Tell the viewers who you are and where you are.
Sure, my name's Al Whitehead. I'm actually based in Denver, Colorado, so in the beautiful area of the Rockies. And so same here. We're dealing with the whole COVID-19 situation, although we're not as bad off as some places around the country. So we're maybe a little bit more fortunate that way. But yeah, so that's who I am, and that's where I am in a very hot Denver day, almost 100 degrees today, which is a bit rare here. So we're staying inside today.
Yeah, well, it's always hot here and humid. So I'm always in. I get out, a little sun is good,
Mhm.
but not too much of what we're experiencing out here, but um, it's hot. It is hot. So
And
Al, tell us, huh? Go ahead.
I remember those summers in Florida
Humid and hot.
and hot.
And thank God for air conditioning. My air conditioner actually went out about 2 weeks ago. And we were down without air for 2 days, and it was pure misery. But we made it through. It's back up and running now.
Oh, good. I
Yes,
cannot
yes.
imagine.
No, you wouldn't want to. It was a sweat box, hot box, but we survived. So Al, what's going on? How is the COVID? I know we're going through this thing, and really that's the topic of the day on most media streams. How has COVID affected you and your family?
It's interesting. So, most people, had to go work from home. in the big scheme of things. So we have in our company, we've had a work from home culture for a long time. So when it comes to work, in essence, it really hasn't changed that much, simply because most of our team members and myself work from home most of the time. So in that aspect, there's really not a lot of change. However, the kind of being stuck at home. If you work from home and you can still go somewhere and socialize and meet people, it kind of has a very nice balance to it in a way. But when you're always stuck at home and you cannot go out, you can't socialize with your friends, that has been, I would say, a bit of a challenge simply because, we're not creatures to be stuck at home all the time. So, that has been, not being able to go, for lunch or for dinner or for a cup of coffee even. And even to go to a normal store for a while, I have to say has been a bit of a challenge and maybe a little, a little depressing for lack of a better word. And even though things have started to open here, you're still careful in the big scheme. So you still have the mask and social distancing and so on. But other than that, that has been the biggest effect for us. And then at the company, obviously, a little bit changing how we do business and how our clients do business, more virtual, obviously. I mean, I used to be in a lot of calls anyway, but now I'm in Zoom calls back to back to back to back to back. That gets a little tiring sometimes. But it's just a new way of doing business. It's just the way it is. I think we're going to have to get used to it for a little while longer.
Yeah, that's what they say. Probably another year. With but it's one of those things. No one knows.
Hmm.
No one knows, and it's interesting that you bring up the fact that yes, we've been creatures of habit, and when that is upset, it kind of just makes everything even worse in some senses. And we were born to actually be social beings and be connected. I remember they did an experiment, I think in China somewhere, with babies, and had a set that weren't touched and then some that were touched often, and the ones that were not touched died. So we have to have that connection. We thrive on that. It's part of our living and our livelihood. And a lot of people are finding it difficult. I thank God that I have family. I have my children that are close. And um, but there are some people that are all by themselves, and it's like, God,
Hmm.
help them. Please send someone that can actually reach out and love on them, to keep their mental state and keep them thriving, spiritually. So, especially in this time.
Hmm.
So, did the COVID affect you directly, health wise, or were you able to sell on by?
It was interesting. So at home, when we get like a cold or something or the flu, we never get it at the same time. There's always like whole 7 day, 10 day in between. When one gets sick, the other one will get sick or something, or maybe not even. And early in March, when there was no testing, you couldn't really, we both had at the same time had sort of the same systems like exhausted, coughing, headaches, and it lasted for like 2.5 weeks, and it wasn't enough to keep us from working, but it was enough to kind of go, I need to take a nap sometimes. So we are, since there's no good antibody tests and so on anyway, we haven't really done a test, but we had a feeling that we both had it, and we weren't, luckily enough, seemed to have gone through it without any um, big issues like some other people are having. So we feel, because it had sort of all the symptoms, and obviously we don't want to self-diagnose. Kind of felt that in the beginning because the first cases in Colorado were also in our neighborhood.
Mhm.
So we kind of feel like that we've had it in the big scheme of things. But other than that, luckily we weren't really, besides sort of those symptoms, really weren't affected any other way. So besides being stuck at home,
And
for a while.
yeah, that's a blessing because I feel for people that have had to go to the hospital, and you literally have to go in by yourself. Your family can't come and visit you. You know, you're just in a room, isolated. It's almost like
Mhm.
prison, to me, to where no one. can be with you. And the only way you can communicate with your family is if you have a cell phone or a
Mhm.
tablet or something to communicate. And that's scary.
I know we always wondering because down the street there's a very large hospital here, and they were one of the main places in Colorado where a lot of the patients went. And you always kind of wondered, how many people were alone there and that their families couldn't visit and so on. And it was kind of nice because across the street of the hospital, there's a brand new building that's, they built it at the wrong time, kind of, and they had like a really big sign in the top windows, we love you and kind of stuff, which was kind of sweet to see that encouraging, those encouraging messages. But you always kind of wonder how many people were there. They had like 10 set up for intake and stuff like that at the hospital as well. So it's kind of strange to see. That's all gone now. But that was like that disappeared in the last month. But so you saw it. It was visible to you in the neighborhood. Um, but yeah, I can feel for people who have to go through that, where your loved one is in the hospital and you can't even visit, and if they pass on, you can't even be there. That
You
must be.
can't be there. That's correct. I mean, I think it's something that happens to not only the people at home, but actually the person that is there. Oftentimes they say if they can hear your voice or just feel your touch, that's enough to kind of pull you through.
Mhm.
But you're in there, that is just horrific to me. That's torture, and I understand you have to keep everyone safe, but I'm like, God, they need to create something else to where the people can be masked up. No one should be alone. And the doctors and nurses are all dealing with other people. So it's like, at that time, are they in another room? Are they, down the hall? Are you literally by yourself when you take your last breath? And sometimes those cold blues go off or whatever, and it takes some time to get to you. And I mean, I know it's I don't know, it bothers me. That's one of the biggest things that I've had to and I haven't been sick in any way, but I've had pains, but I've refused to go to the doctor. Normally I would go and get a shot. I have laid in my bed and cried it out. Cried it out and waited for the pain. And I created a pain relief. This is something that actually I created last year, and my doctor told me that, Shermandy, you need to put it out on the market because it takes swelling out of the body as well as pain almost instantaneously. And this is, something that I started using last year, which has actually helped me move away from my medicines gradually because I was in a battle with, we've talked about it with how it literally took me mentally away from myself, along with other things that were taking place. But when I was on all the medications, I wasn't myself. And you even said, and I knew when I talked to you last year,
Who is
something was
this?
off. What did you say?
Who is this?
But I made it through. But this was something that was given to me in my sleep. I was waking up one morning, and I had already begun to using oils, and I'm changing my diet with a lot of greens and stuff like that. Things that actually help take inflammation out of your body. And this here came about. I was waking up one morning, and I literally, before my eyes opened, I heard an audible voice talking just like you and I are talking. It spoke to me right before I opened my eyes with a few ingredients. And I wrote it down at the time. I didn't do anything with it for about a month because I didn't know exactly what that was. What had I experienced to actually hear an audible voice in my room? Um, as if someone was in my room with me. And I knew it was a spiritual thing, but I didn't know. And about a month later, I was talking with one of my friends that we pray together and everything. And while she was talking, I began to mix those things that had come to me that morning. And my leg and my knee, my foot was swollen really bad, ankle and everything, and my knee was hurting. And while she was speaking, I was mixing, and then I put this stuff on me, and within like 3-4 minutes, I'm moving my leg back and forth, and I had already shared with her that I was in pain. And while she was yet speaking, I said, "Oh my goodness, the pain is gone. I just did this mixture, and I call it the my God's healing balm." I have it in creams and everything. But yeah, I did what my doctor told me. He said, what you have is natural, and it's much safer, and it's going to benefit not just yourself, but it could benefit the world, because it's not putting all those chemicals and things that, because a lot of our things are outsourced into other factories. You don't exactly know what you're getting. We just don't know what is in the medicine. And he said, at least you know exactly what you're dealing with. And he said, I've seen it, and you have something on your hands. So, that's been a part of my process with just, doing my natural things around. And like I said, we haven't been affected in that way, but it's something to see the pains of the people. And I started saying that because I was saying I won't go to the hospital for nothing. I refuse to go to the hospital because I'm afraid that, they could have I know I'm not sick, but they say people can be atopic or whatever, so they can say that you have something and then they lock you away. Not going to happen on Shamanda's watch.
Better safe and home.
I'd rather be home and pray for that audible voice to speak to me, to tell me what I need for me, versus going to a place where they absolutely they don't know, they're experimenting themselves, they don't have a cure. So I feel God is our outlet. God is he's the answer. And if you want it, you've got to go to him and say, look, talk to me, I'm here. Open yourself to receive it. And I believe he gives us what we need. Just what I believe. Well, that's enough about me, because I have let me tell you something. I've created so many amazing things, and I have my kids experimenting, and I have some friends. I have had friends use this stuff too, and it actually does work. But business-wise, what are you doing to win in this season?
That's a loaded question.
It is, because I know several things, but I want you to share with the public.
So in the one company, so we have a couple of different areas that we work in. So one of them is software that deals with events and conferences. So that industry has really changed in the last couple of months, with so many, events being canceled and conferences being rebooked to different dates or going completely virtual. So we have gone more to offering virtual services versus live. So I mean, people still have to sign up, and you still have to share content and engage and all that stuff. But rather than from the live perspective, that is now going to virtual, and maybe eventually back to a combination of live and virtual. So that's one thing that we're doing with the one company. And the other company, which is the app that deals with coaching and learning and so on. So we are launching that app at the end of the summer. So we've taken this time to do a lot of interviews. So we are recruiting, coaches to be part of that app. So basically, coaches connect with learners rather than just taking an online course or so. We are connecting coaches with learners, or learners with coaches who want to work on a variety of different things in their life, from career to personal development, etc. And so we pair them up with a number of different coaches to help them reach a certain goal. We would say, I want to be more of something, be more successful, be skinnier, be healthier, be more of this or that. And so we, rather than saying, hey, take this online course, we connect you with, maybe if you want to be more successful, you should work with this coach who's going to teach you how to maybe speak in public. The other coach, because you have a lot of stress, so if you want to be successful, you can't have stress. So learn how to de-stress and breathe and all of that sort of stuff. So kind of that's what we've been doing. So most of our time right now, at least in the last 7 weeks right now, it's been a lot of interviews. So far we brought in about 67 coaches. About 100 we're hiring right now. So that's been a fun adventure for me. That's why I've had so many Zoom meetings, having interviews with prospect coaches, which has been a great experience, meeting some amazing people with incredible talents, who are willing to share that. And they too are looking for, different ways of doing business. As a coach, when you do one-on-one, you tend to like meet with the person and work on issues. Although some of them are somewhat virtual, who are now looking at going completely virtual and, with the ability to reach a much larger market as well. So that's sort of been a really interesting way how everything has changed, or how everything is changing in the big scheme of things. So that's really been my, because we don't have time to go anywhere anyway. We may as well work the whole time. So
Why
that's
don't
been,
you do something? What do you? I mean, that that is. I know business is the focus now because things are shifting and changing, and you've got to make it, thrive in this season. But I'm sure you all have done things just for yourselves too that help you pass the time and just enjoy life a little, haven't you?
it's funny. So I, I the things we have to. I mean, it's. I remember a couple of, gosh, it's weeks ago now, maybe 2 months ago. It was a Sunday night, and we work, and there really was nothing open. And then we looked like, what stores are open in the neighborhood? And so there's Target and those general the stores, but how many times can you go to Target for fun? So Total Wine which is a really large warehouse store that sells beer and wine from all over the world. So we decided, let's go visit international wines and beers. So we went to walk around the store and for a little while, and just to be out. But other than that, it's been kind of catching up. I don't watch that much TV to begin with, but catching up on a couple of TV shows, and reading a few books and so on. And generally going outdoors and walking. We're very fortunate in our neighborhood that we have lots of walking paths and parks, so that sort of stuff. But unfortunately, the parks, where we could normally go, do like a nice little loop, that's a couple of miles or so, and you come across 3 or 4 or 5 people. Now there's like 500 people, and there's no social distancing. You kind of stay away from that too. So it's, kind of hanging out outside if at all possible, and, kind of catching up also, but because there's really not much to do, although certain things have opened, like botanical gardens, the zoos, all that stuff has opened again. But then, you kind of have to, work around crowds, and, even though there's limited tickets available, I guess, when you go. But it's the same thing, there's still crowds, and Denver especially is always a city of lots of people with lots of lines, and because the city has grown so much in a very short time. So trying to avoid that. So reading a good book, is not a bad thing.
Yeah. I've been doing a lot of reading myself, and actually just creating, just the ice,
Mhm.
the I won't say isolation because I'm not isolated. Like I said, I have my family, and there have been a couple friends that have asked for a little counseling here and there for certain things, and I've been able to go over to just two people at this time that I have allowed myself to be around, aside from my family in this season. But you know, it's good to keep something going, to make something happen, but there's nothing like reading. I mean, to keep us connected and just keep the mind, in a good place too and growing.
What's really kind of interesting in this whole situation, like people on like social platforms like Facebook and whatever, like
Mm.
some people have reached out more, like, hey, how's everything going? People that you will hear once, from once or twice a year, and that's just kind of normal in a way. But you've had more reach outs, and I do the same. And then also, oh, let's catch up, let's have a call, and talk for 3 hours, and then talk for 3 hours again, which you hadn't done for years with some people, and it just gives you the time
True.
to connect virtually with some people and kind of catch up, especially with some of our shared friends. That has happened more. in the last couple of months, which is a really, kind of a nice thing in a way as well, kind of a benefit from the whole situation. So that's been nice as well.
And that's a good thing, a good way of looking at it, something that, for some maybe haven't even considered that. But because our lives have slowed down so much, you're not out there in the hustle and bustle, and, when you're not doing your business online, like you said, you're out and you're able to get away. Now you're, kind of stuck in one place. So you're able to kind of take a lot more in from those that would reach out, or that you wouldn't even think to reach out. Not that you're not thinking about them, but because life is so busy, our lives have been like we're in a microwave society where boom, 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 everything happens like this, and you're so busy that you can't think. Whereas with this COVID thing, though, on one end, it's really bad because people have lost their lives and people have lost jobs. There are a lot of people really still with no jobs, and haven't been able to pay their mortgages or what have you. Um, but, to look on the brighter side of it is that you have time to actually spend with your family. You have time to actually connect with your loved ones. You have time to actually think, because you see people dying. At least that's what they're putting the numbers out there, and make you kind of slow down and think, how's this person doing, and maybe, show more of your concern, have your emotional side come forth a little bit better and more. um, Actually just helping us think clearly, think about the loved ones that, like you said, we may talk to them once or twice out of a year, whereas now you're able to reach out, 4, 5, 6 times because you have time.
That's been a nice benefit, if you can say it that way. So
Yeah.
that's been good, in the big scheme of things. It's kind of strange, like where I live. There's a lot of people in our building, and so it's like, when you live in a building with lots of apartments, you don't really know your neighbors all that well, and it seems that, now even more so, people like go in the hallway, so there's even less of a connection in, because all of the amenities in essence are closed, so you don't interact with people, so you really are very much on your own little island. So those connections you can make outside of that virtual, I think, are really important, as part of that. Just sort of keeps you sane.
It does, and it brings everybody closer. Look how long it had been before we had spoken, um, and it's something to be able to, with the click of a button,
Hmm.
see your face. That's the beautiful thing about Facebook and now all of these social media connections, the things that you can use to actually connect, to do business, and just to be connected with family and friends.
Hmm.
So, it's a beautiful thing to kind of just experiment with all this stuff that is out here, and it is bringing us closer, and making the connection stronger. So I'm thankful.
Same here.
Yeah. How's your family overseas? I mean, how's everyone?
As far as I know, they're fine. I mean, I talk to them regularly, so they've been social distancing, as well. When they go out, they wear the mask and so on. So I'm lucky that my parents are healthy in the big, because they're in their mid to late 70s, so they are healthy. So they don't really have pre-existing conditions, that may affect, if they get it and so on. But you never know. But they are sort of solitary creatures anyway, my parents. So they really enjoy, they have a big house. They really enjoy sort of puddling around the house and the yard and doing projects. And they also have, well, they used to. Their last horse just passed away like 2 weeks ago. But so they would go take care of the horses and stuff like that as well. So they've quite maybe enjoyed is the wrong word, but they didn't have any social obligations and so on. I think the one thing that's a little bit hard is, seeing the grandchildren, not seeing the grandchildren, and so on. So that was a little bit maybe challenging for a little while, but those rules have now relaxed over there, so people can visit again and so on. So, but they're careful, and I'm thankful they're healthy, for where they are in life. So as far as I know from talking with them, they've had a lot of projects done around the house.
I'm sure they gotten a lot of stuff done. I mean, I have a garden, a little farm in the back, and I haven't gotten out there as much as I would like, but now it's warm. I try to, because it's too warm, I have to get out
Yeah.
very early or somewhat late, but then we have mosquitoes too. So
Oh, I didn't
that,
know that.
yeah, yeah. So that,
It's big.
they're not that big, but they can appear to be. When they bite you, it feels like it's something that big. But
I,
I've actually been able to muster up my strength, relaxing and not going anywhere outside of the home to do little things here and there and clean out closets, boxes, things that I normally would be able to get to. So, um,
it's funny. We did that as well, and then there's a couple of different places here you can donate stuff, and
mhm,
it was funny because you have all this stuff you want to donate, and then the places to donate are closed. So you had to like
that's
hold on to it until they open again. And so when we went to drop it off at the one place, they didn't have any capacity. So we had to go to a different place. And there was a line of cars in front of us, just people just donating stuff. So everybody must have been really cleaning their closets and stuff, their garages.
you don't have anything
So
else
many
to
benefits.
do. So, Al, let me ask you this. What would be some advice that you would give to someone out there? You decided, 'cause, our platform is where we live triumphantly by choice. It's a choice and you're winning. I mean, life happens, and it's literally your mental capacity to say, you know what? In spite of it all, I'm going to make this thing work. I'm going to win. And this is how it's happening for me. How is the winning happening for you? And what would be some advice that you would give to others that are listening out there, be it in personal living or in business? What is working for you, and what advice would you give to someone else out there to win?
Well, I think on a personal and business side, I don't think there's really a lot of difference, is that your mindset is really important. So it's very easy when you're in a situation like this, where you're stuck at home and so on, to become negative, to become depressed, to become doubtful in yourself and all these different things. So I think it's really important to work on your mindset so you have a positive mindset. You're like, I can do this, this too shall pass, and so that sort of stuff is trying to be very mindful of your thoughts and your behaviors and so on, because it is very easy for human beings to go to the negative. So is trying to be living in that moment and being grateful for where you are, and just be positive. I think that's one thing to focus on, and that's really important for me as well, because I tend to be sort of, you know, realistic and can be negative and so on. So it's always like bringing back to like, no, be thankful, be positive, you be mindful, and so on. So I think that's really important. And I think for um, what's I think one of the biggest challenges is for people is trying to figure out how to, you know, be home, be with your spouse 24 hours a day, be with your kids 24 hours a day, be with your pets 24 hours a day, is that you need to find a way to communicate, with each other honestly and so on. Simply because it's a challenge to be, if you're normally apart 8 or 9 or 10 hours a day and suddenly you're all together, that can be a challenge. So, working around communications, I think, is really important. And when it comes to business, it's very easy um, to sort of get in a rut for stuff if your environment doesn't change. Is try to change your environment, and again, try to find try to find things in what you do that always go like, and especially in our business, it's like, what do people need right now? How can we help with that? How can we help our team with that? How can we help our coaches with that? How can we help ourselves with that? It's kind of trying to figure out what you can do for other people, because in the big scheme of things, helping other people is kind of a good warm fuzzy. It makes you feel better as well. That's kind of a thing that we live by. I'm hoping this answers your question, Shamana. Um, but the biggest thing for me is trying to be in a positive mindset. which isn't always easy to do. But I think for me, to be successful, you got to believe you can be successful. You got to believe in yourself. You got to believe in your team. You got to believe in the people you work with. If you don't do that, you may as well just stay home and go hide in your bedroom. So, does that make sense?
That makes sense. And it's one of those things. I know you're saying be positive. What are some of the, do you have certain books or certain people that you listen to? Because I know, it's easy for us to say positive because, we both traveled with a very positive group of people, and practically everyone was happy. And, we're just a different breed of people, where, it's just our lives. And like you said, I mean, if you don't keep your mind focused there, it's easy to go left. But like for me, I love to read the Word of God and promises that God has made to us. I have John Maxwell books, and there are different books and things and people that I listen to even online. So, are there any specific people that are inspirations to you to help keep you in a positive mindset that you would like to share?
Hmm. That's a really good question. To me, it's more kind of different things I pick up here and there. Um, I mean, the books that I read tend to be sort of more business books, or really fluffy books that make me happy, that you can read through like a one evening. But they tend to be more business books. The one I just finished, which was kind of interesting and had a lot to do with mindset in a way, was Bob Iger's new book, and I can't think of the title. He was the CEO of Disney. I just finished that like a couple of days ago, um, and I'm drawing a blank on the title right now. So that was a good one. But it becomes for me, the things I've learned is from working with different coaches and interviewing different coaches. And I'm actually looking up the name of the book here on my iPad.
It's
Uh,
okay. Take your time.
Take this off. Um, so it's coming to that realization that you know that I need to think before I talk. So trying to kind of step back. So it's more of a practice for me, and it's not always easy. But it's kind of the thing about step back before you open your mouth, before you behave something. How does it affect other people? How does it affect me? It's a practice that takes a lot of practice for me. So that's kind of the thing that I'm trying to work around. But that comes
Say
more
that
from
again. Say that again. You said step back.
before you say something or do something, step
Mhm.
back and think about how it affects other people. So in a way, and it's not an easy thing to do because your brain sometimes or your mouth sometimes goes faster than your brain. So you can
Then you, yeah.
say something. So it's really kind of being very conscious about what you do and what you say, because everything you do and say affects other people in the big scheme of things. So for me, that's really been kind of a practice in a way, which is not easy. As a person, and how my brain works basically. So that's kind of what it looks like for me. Um, and that comes really from really talking, different coaches who work around mindfulness, consciousness, and so on, awareness, and so on. So, and everybody kind of has their own take on it. And for me, it's more, as you say something, think about it. Because what I always try to do doesn't always work. What I always try to do is like make every personal connection meaningful. If you and I talk, how can I make this connection meaningful, whatever that may be? So it's kind of a practice. That's kind of my mantra in my head. So that's kind of the practice I practice. Does that make sense? Yeah.
No, it does. Yeah. And that's the thing. It's the mindfulness and training. We think about, a lot of people are doing these weight things these days. You don't just wake up and the weight is gone. It would be beautiful if you could say, okay, weight be gone and it's gone. No, in order for you to achieve that goal, you've got to set forth a practice
Hmm.
and be determined and focused, diligent to make it work. And in this season, it's one of those things that, the reason why I love doing my Winning World shows is because it's talking about people that have stories of overcoming how, yeah, life has happened, but how are you overcoming it? It's a mindset, of course, but then you've got to be willing to dedicate and see yourself important enough to say, I'm putting forth this thing in practice to make it work and make it happen for me. No one can do it for you. It would be beautiful if the world could go around and say, you do this for me, and boom, it's done. you know,
Doesn't
and
work
too
that
often, yeah, it doesn't. And oftentimes we're always looking outside of ourselves to make life happen. The eyesight, television, whatever, it gets you all caught up and it's going to make you happy. And at the end of the day, if within yourself is not complete, then guess what? It's not going to work because it's only for a season. It may satisfy you. The gratification of it will be, for 30 minutes or an hour, even a day or a week. But then it dies out because it's not from within you. So that practice and making a focus to say, this is what I'm going to do for me. That I think that's where we all need to be in this season. Yes, life has changed for many of us, and for some of us, we just had to incorporate new things. Like you said, you do things on the computer all the time, um, but you're having to, kind of be innovative in this season. And guess what? That's a choice. There's some people that have businesses that have said, what woe is me, what am I going to do? If business was in you, if you created one thing, you can create another. And if you don't know how to do it, connect with people like Al, like myself, to say, what, how are you doing what you're doing to keep a smile on your face? Because in actuality, it's coming from within. It's nothing out there is doing it for me. Yes, I enjoy connecting. I enjoy talking, but at
And
the end of the
sometimes,
day, go ahead.
sorry, and sometimes you just have to ask.
Yeah, you
There's
don't
a
have
lot.
to ask. It's true.
There's a lot of people willing to help out with advice and with feedback and whatever, but we tend to not ask.
Yeah,
You just have to ask sometimes. It's okay. It's okay to ask for help.
yeah. And
Yeah.
that's my main thing. I know when I was going through um, mentally out of myself because of my religious upbringing and being told that you take it to Jesus and leave it there. I needed to talk to someone. I had to cry out for help. I needed help because I was losing myself. I was able to speak in other people's lives and minister the word. I wasn't getting it for me. I was losing me. I had lost me. And I had to say help. And it's okay. Said there are many people out there that's willing, that have the hearts to say, you know what, I'll show you what I know. And what I don't know, I'll connect you with someone else that knows a little bit more, and that's the collaboration and connections in life. We don't have it all. No one person has everything, but
It's true.
open yourself to be willing to gain what that person does have to offer you. But it's HELP, help. I need help.
And you never know what can come out of it.
Yeah, it's so true. And that's just a beautiful thing. That's where we are right now. And like I said, you gotta want it for you.
I'm just hoping that you know it's an interesting. you know Americans have a really interesting culture in the big scheme of things. It's all about me, and I'm hoping in this, and you can still see that when you go to stores, people who refuse to wear masks come into your personal space. They don't care about you. They only care about themselves. How if there is going to be a change, where people really are going to, become more caring of others. I'm kind of interested to see how that's going to develop over the next couple of months, if there's going to be change, because it's so in our being to be. It's all about me and what I can achieve and so on, not caring about the rest. it seems like. So I'm curious to see how that's going to, if that's going to change, or if our behaviors are going to go back to where they were 6 months down the line or something. So I'm very curious. I'm very curious about that.
I think for those that, like you said, put it in their mind to be diligent to think about it and say, I want it, it will happen. But I think, especially some of the oldest, have to die off because they're not going to change, you know?
That's true.
You hate to say it that way. I'm just, every season, there's a time for life, there's a time for death, there's a time for crying, there's a time for everything under the heavens, that, and that's Bible. So, you would, like I said, we would want to believe that people would look at this thing and say, you know what, it's time for me to change and to consider others and not just myself. But it just doesn't happen that way. But I think for the most part, there will be, especially with the younger generation coming up, I think change will come. I think if we keep talking about it, if we keep putting it out there, because everything happens with communication and talking. If we're not putting and creating venues like this to where we can actually get the word out, where we can plant the seed, it takes people like you and myself and others to plant seeds of love and caring, and just pray that the ears that are needing to hear it, that can really make a difference in this world, are hearing it and saying, you know what, that makes a lot of sense to me. So guess what? In life, we're constantly planting seeds. Plant seeds and plant the seeds that you want to receive, because I'm a firm believer that you plant, whatever you put out there in that garden is going to spring up and it's going to come back to you. So you're going to receive what you put out. So it's important for us to be mindful of everything that we're putting out there. Good or bad,
True.
it comes back and it greets you in the morning.
Hello, morning.
Yes, yes.
Uh, it,
Well, with,
it's just interesting. I mean, right, especially right now with everything going on, I think it's so important for people to come together and learn from each other, and get to know each other, and have open conversations, because there's so much negativity going on right now, and I think this is a really good opportunity to just kind of take your blinders off and learn. You know, I think it's a good time for that right now.
it really is. And like I said, we just have to continue doing what we do.
Hmm.
And that's, showing forth love. We had a good, 86, 87 of us that traveled that year and spreading love amongst the nations. Over 24 nations represented, I think, in our cast.
I don't remember.
I think it was 24 countries,
I think
something
so.
like that, where we were able to literally show how you can have peace amongst the nations. And peace is possible, but guess what? It may not be a worldwide thing, but it can be your world thing. So, we make our world, we create our world, and irrespective to everything else that is blowing up out here around us, if you stay true to you, you can walk that path in peace, and all this stuff won't harm you. And if it is harming you, get help to find out how to, keep your focus and stay your path, or even change your path if you've been negative. Like you said, we have to stay positive. So if you don't know how to, get that help and let someone help pull you on that road of focus and positivity to win, because this is all about winning. If you have life in your breath, you woke up this morning and you're able to think and comprehend, you are winning. Now, what are you going to do with it? So that's
I
a
think
winning world. What are you going to do? So, so
so. I
is there
think if
anything?
you're,
Go ahead.
no, as I say, as long as I think if you are, have a positive mindset and are willing to learn and are authentic, I think you can be winning, so to speak. You can't be fake. You can't pretend. You can't. It has to be very genuine. It has to be authentic, And so if you keep that in mind, I think you're on the right path to, no matter what the path is for you,
That's it.
I think you're on the right path to, as you say, be winning as part of this. So that's kind of, that's what we try to live by here. And the same thing with what we're doing with our coaches too. It's like I want everything that we do to reflect the world out there. Who we bring in has to reflect what the world looks like. Who we work with has to reflect what the world looks like, and that's, it takes extra effort, but it's so worth it. Um, so yeah, so it's all about, and here as well. So,
That's
but
it. It is. Well, Al, I thank you so much. Is there anything you would like to say about your company to anyone that may be interested, or anything you would like to share before we close this out?
well, first of all, thank you for inviting me to be here, Shamanda. It's been a fun conversation, and if anybody wants to check us out, we're at ngomu.com. So it's ngomu.com. So if you are interested in being a coach, if you're interested in kind of learning more about us, go there, and you'll see our social links and so on as well. So that is our company where we connect learners with coaches via our app around the world. And then our other company is Event Interface, .com. So that's where we do all of the virtual events and so on. So check it out if you're interested, and feel free to reach out to me as well. And Shamana, I appreciate you inviting me to this conversation today. And
Oh, I thank you. Thank you for coming. Thank you for making the
well,
time, setting the time aside to be here today to, just share in your winning, share in your world.
thank you.
Um, appreciate it. And I look forward to connecting, as time go on with different things and collaborating. I would like to thank my viewing audience for joining A Winning World here with us today. And what? There's nothing you can't do. We can do all things through Christ Jesus. That's my belief. But, whatever your belief is, you need to be connected to something that is showing you and directing you to moving farther and beyond yourself, because there's a life ahead of us. Irrespective to everything that is going on around us, there is a beyond, but we have to choose a beyond. And then if you can see beyond, guess what? You can get there. You can yourself even farther along versus just getting stuck in this one place and feeling that you're in quicksand, because it's easy to get there, but it's also easy to get out if you say, you know what, I am choosing to win for me and for the world around me. And I would like to invite you to awinningworld.com if you would like to check out our products. We check on YouTube, Facebook, and again, I shared earlier, have a product here. This is actually the pain relief from, let's see, over there. It's called God's Healing Balm. It's something that literally came from the heavens. It was spoken to me, and it relieves pain and swelling in the body. Have a facial cream that actually takes away blemishes and that stuff as well. This is a face care. We have a lip balm, which actually my son has been using this too. And uh, this is lip gloss that stays on throughout the night. I don't know if you've ever used something that literally was still moisture. You could feel the moisture, but it actually puts the moisture in your lips, and it lasts all day long. Amazing. Even with drinking my teas and my drinks, it's working. And we also have something that helps you sleep. This one, I'm waiting for the labels to come in, but this is a sleep. You can put it in your um, infusion. What do you call those? Diffuse. I have one burning back here.
Oh,
Diffusers.
diffuser.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So you put the oils in there, and it literally relaxes you. It really will. The combination of things, and I also have something for focus and just for consciousness. Uh, the Lord is doing some amazing things. So I have opened myself up to a spiritual realm of saying, I want to hear from you, and I need things that will work in the natural sense. And because I asked, what did Al say earlier? We have not, the Bible says not because we ask not. We were talking about it earlier. All people have to do is ask for, that they're seeking. And for me, I enjoy creating, and I found a new world of creating with natural things to make life better and to just impact us in a natural sense. So, awinningworld.com is where you can find the products. God's Healing Balm is the name of the actual natural products that you can actually purchase. There are books and things on that page as well. But I would love to hear from you, talk with you again. I thank you for joining Al and myself on A Winning World today. And as always, hugs, love, and mwah, kisses to you all. I will talk to you soon, and keep safe. Keep your mask on when you're out, social distance, and continue to use your hand sanitizer. I use that, but when I'm in the house, guys, I am a soap and water person. Use soap and water. Use soap and water. There's nothing like good old fashioned soap and water. But keep yourself safe, and remember to love on your neighbors. Allow them to love on you. Don't forget, to reach out to someone today to say, you know what, you were on my mind, and I just wanted to know and make sure that you're okay. And in you doing that, guess what? Conversation starts, and it also turns around and helps you, because more than likely you're needing it just as much as the person that has been laid on your heart to reach out to. Have a blessed day, everyone. Take care.
Bye.